So in today's video, you will see me guide Stacy through a process to come into deeper understanding and to come up with a short-term goal that she can work on between now and the next time that we talk. Please remember to like this video, subscribe, and also share any comments for any insight that you get in this video that might be helpful to you. Thank you so much. Enjoy today's video, and I'll see you again soon. Okay, so we're recording. All right, so just like I was thinking that maybe I might post this. So we'll see what happens today, but we'll see. And if it doesn't, then I won't post it. But if there's something interesting that comes of it, then we'll go. So I'm just going to kind of create a preface by saying that, like, you know, you and I have been meeting and we met in the Conscious Business Accelerator, and we've been kind of, you know, working out how we can like make our businesses happen, right? And grow and be sustainable and supportive, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, since we started talking, we've processed through a lot of the, you know, the challenges and the struggles, and there's always going to be like the life things that are happening. And I think that the big key up until this point has been, you know, that we have to take care of those challenging circumstances that are pressing in life, right? We can't ignore those. We have to create space and time to be able to manage those. Yet, if we're putting too much attention on those, then we're giving them more energy, right? So I feel like when we get together, we ought to start like focusing on, you know, what we can do, and like we're trying to work through the obstacles. And one thing I thought about today was like maybe creating a new template just to start with. And just, I don't know what that new template like looks like exactly, but there's I was reading and there was 3 questions, and I thought these were good questions just to kind of start out with by saying, you know, am I willing to increase the amount of time every day that I feel good inside? You know, yes, I'm willing to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the second question is, am I willing to increase the amount of time that my whole life goes well?
Absolutely.
Yep, I agree. And am I willing to feel good and have my life go well all the time?
Absolutely.
Great. So we've at least established that. So then the next thing I thought about was goals. Like we should set some goals and maybe today kind of work on, you know, with our businesses, like what that really looks like, what the goal is that we're wanting to reach to. And then we can backtrack those goals to see kind of what the steps are. We've been really focusing on like the product and what we're building and the ideas and like the life circumstances that are happening. And I'm thinking that we haven't really anchored in any place that we're trying to get to. There's kind of a hypothetical sort of, it could like, this is what it would look like, but there's not really a definitive, this is the goal, right?
Yeah, I could agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think, well, let's spend a little bit of time on that today. But I also wanted to ask to see, because last time when we talked, for you, it was like putting the content out, right? And I'm curious if you were able to put any content out.
I was not. I was not successful in that. I literally and I appreciated the that article, which I did read. And it pinpointed how I short circuit myself, sabotage myself. I mean, there's been there's still obstacles and challenges for me that I'm, in the process of moving through, and I'm still processing a lot of information in my personal life in order to have more clarity when I actually do post something. There's a lot of mixed things in there as well, that I can take ownership of as far as preventing myself from moving forward. And I'm not really wanting to be a perfectionist, but I do want to create something that is of value and not have it be a sob story about my personal stuff. And so I've had moments of introspection taken a few walks this week, not as much as I'd like, still journaling, still listening. I have comparisonitis, I call it, where, I'm like, okay, I'll move forward on this. Well, let me get a little bit more information. And then I find someone who's done what I want to do, but they're highly accomplished already. And they're doing it, in a very, educational and informative way. Whereas me, I'm looking at myself as just being a hot mess. And here comes in, judgment of myself and wanting to present myself in a certain way. Yet all that, in doing that, even if I did it just being the hot mess, is very authentic as well. And perhaps, there is somebody who might see, but eventually, at the beginning, of course, nobody will probably see anyway. But so all of these things, the personal stuff, how I've seen myself, also a lot, like I've been not liking myself this week, like looking in the mirror and wanting to be in front of a camera, like literally, like my heart is breaking because I don't like what I see. I don't like the person, that's looking back at me. And it has to do more with the aging process. And like, that's a whole nother topic of where I am in my life. And, so there's been a lot of, I guess, I don't want to say necessarily spiraling, but, different touch points of what's just stalled me out, but still yet having the intention of and the desire to move forward. And I've been listening to a few people and a few things, and then realizing, wow, maybe I made a mistake with this choice. Maybe I should have done this and put the funds that I have towards something else. And that would have gotten me moving forward in a more confident way, which is a whole nother subject as well. So I'm kind of, and I've been journaling, like little note taking of things that I would want to present as well. There were some notes I had listened to a woman regarding sales that I thought was, I don't know, it just really stuck with me. There was something about clarity and overcoming overwhelm, and also about having confidence. So little things. And so I'm kind of still in that process. And again, those other personal things are huge. Like, not having a refrigerator is like massive. And I've had to basically buy ice packs is what I'm doing. And I'm switching them out,
Mm-hmm.
in the morning and in the evening. I mean, that's crazy. I even had an estimate because I don't have air conditioning. And that's like $3,500. Where does that come from? So I'm going to manifest it. So then I'm
So
thinking,
I wonder if you can just be for now in just this moment in acceptance. Things are how they are, right? I mean, it's good. So this, I think the starting point is acceptance, not as complacency, right? But just as a place of like, okay, things are the way that they are, right? The reality is, that the challenges and obstacles are present and they're not going to just go away, right? They're going to take, constructive steps to move through them. And there is a way through it, right? When we focus on the struggle and the hardness of it, then it kind of increases that. And then it's like, this is so hard, right? And then it gets harder and harder. So right now things are how they are. And it's just like the only way through is to really go through and to work through it. So the first place is just acceptance of saying like the challenges and the obstacles are there. You're recognizing that, you're not liking your reflection. You're not liking your in essence, how you're seeing, you're comparing yourself to other people that are doing what you want to do and putting expectations on yourself that are to be a way that you're not. And so, and then also you have the desire to move forward, but to move forward is going to require like moving through some of these places. So first is acceptance, right? Sure, the should statements are challenging because we can always look back and say I should have done this a certain way, or I should have done that, or I shouldn't have done this. But those are like thinking, those thoughts kind of trap us into being stuck, really. It just kind of adds to the container of, oh, I didn't do this right, I'm not doing this right, this isn't working, I made a mistake, right? But all those are just growth opportunities, right? And they happened, and maybe whatever you are thinking, I shouldn't have done this, it's like, okay, so if it's not working, then it might be something that you did it to recognize this isn't right for me. And some of those can be costly things. We might buy into something or invest in something and then realize that I'm really trying to make this work, but ultimately it's just not for me, right?
Mhm.
And then because it might have cost more, there's that was expensive. So then there's a little bit of like, I don't know if it's buyer's remorse, but maybe a little bit like buyer's remorse that goes in there, that is like, I'm financially struggling and I spent money on this when I need a refrigerator and I need air conditioning, and so now things are hard because I spent money over here when it was over here. Those are learning opportunities, right? So it's you know and sometimes we can buy into things thinking, somebody dangles something in front of us saying, here's a program, here's an offer, here's a thing that's going to solve all your problems, right? And so then we buy it, we say, yeah, like, let's go. But it takes us out of ourselves, away from ourselves, with this hope that this thing is going to solve all of our problems, and then we do it and then find out, no, all the problems are actually still here, right? It didn't do the thing I thought it was going to do. We just keep coming back to ourselves.
Well,
So
at that point is when I put the blame on myself, because like, maybe I don't have what it takes. Like if I were to completely follow through, but I also don't have the space, the time, and to put in more of the effort. And it just seems like I need it now, 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 and it takes too long. And there are other things that are pulling me away from that trajectory in order to be successful in that. Does that make sense?
yeah, can you give an example of that?
Like having this 40
Something
hours,
that's pulling you
40,
away
40
from.
hours a week is taking a lot of time away from me. Um, just to barely make ends meet, you know. Um, and that's not something I even want to do yet. I have uh, you know, a space of gratitude for that position. And even though I'm doing something that's not in alignment with who I am, and it's causing me a lot of anxiety and fear every time I do this kind of job, just to make ends meet. I'm always afraid that I'm going to make a mistake and be let go, or it's and that position is fading anyway, and then the stress of having to find another position that I don't like, that's going to take me away from what I'm doing, but yet could solve a financial situation. It's and it feels very crazy and not in alignment, and like it's just not the right thing for me.
Well, and here's the interesting point too, is, yeah, I'm hearing you say, I don't like where I am right now, right? I don't like how I am. I don't like how I look. I don't like who I am. I don't like the reality of my life right now. I don't like this, right? I want to be over here, but I'm here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does it look like for a moment just to be in acceptance for where you are?
Gratitude is the first word that came to mind, because there is a lot here that I am actually very grateful.
Yeah. What are
um
you grateful for?
Having this roof over my head, having this house, um waking up and hearing the birds, and just connecting to my environment. Those moments that I'm creating for myself, when I journal, when the lost cats show up, like Batman is sleeping on my bed right now, and it's just so incredibly sweet. um, that I even have, um, uh, some money to feed them and take care of them, and take care of myself right now. I have a car. Um, I still have me, basically, but I wonder if me is enough. If me isn't enough, do I love myself enough? Can I forgive myself enough? Like, forgiveness has been the thing that came up for me this morning. And the what is it called? Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian mantra. Um, yeah. So these practices that, have been around, nothing new. A lot of people have spoken about them. So I'm trying to practice what I believe in, what I would share with other people, but do it for myself.
Mhm.
And I guess in a sense, prove it to myself, which I feel like that I've really beat myself up so bad, so bad.
Yeah, and you said, I wonder if me is enough, right? So it's like on one hand, your business and your vision, the big picture is you being enough and relying on yourself. And it's what, the model is what you've seen as a lot of other people doing, right? And
Mhm.
so there's a over there and out there of like
Yeah.
having the role models and what other people are doing. And then there's the reality of where you are and asking, am I enough? And when we're in this place of questioning, like, am I enough and I'm not liking myself, then we look outside of ourselves to try to find another model we can, another, whatever model we can put on or take on for us, but that's someone else's dream, vision, and model, right? It's not
Yeah.
necessarily ours. So sometimes part of the clearing process is actually getting rid of everybody else's dreams to make way for our own to show up, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, that's coming into authenticity when we're able to say, wait, okay, that looks really awesome and amazing. And it would be really cool to be that person and to be living like that. However, that's their dream and their vision. Is that actually right for me? And what do you think about that?
Well, I agree with that, because I'm always looking at, I guess if you could say, um, what someone else has created, and admiring that, yet disconnecting, or creating this illusion that I don't know what my thing is. It's taking me away from even discovering, that my authentic self, because I'm always looking at someone else's creation, what they've done for themselves, and then admiring that, and then coming back to myself and saying, oh, you have nothing. You have nothing. Look what all these other people have done. But yet, I know the same thing, and I'm just not doing it for myself.
So then it seems to me like if so looking at other people's dreams is taking you away from really being able to discover what yours is. And so you see theirs and then come back to yourself and say, I have nothing, right? But you're recognizing that you do have some things, like you're recognizing you have, a car. And even though the job isn't ideal, you do have that for right now. You have a roof over your head, you have a
Mm.
loving cat, you have the money to take care of the cat. So it's like looking at, even though we might look at those things and say, like, I do the same thing too. I can say I don't have a car, right? So I can focus on the fact I don't have a car, or it's like, but I can also look and say, well, but I do have a roof over my head, right? I do have, these, shows and little opportunities coming in that help. It's not like ideal. I can also look and judge it and say that's not enough, right? It needs to be more, right? It has to be more. But I think that, like, in that, like, I have nothing, right? I mean, the saying is that, like, all creation happens in the void, right? So if you realize that you do have something, and it maybe isn't what you're expecting it to be, but you do have something, which means that there is within that space a way, right? There is something that you've been given here that you already have, that is your thing, right? And it's, you probably already even know what it is, but sometimes when it's so obvious, we can overlook it. I use the example of like a fish might think like, I'm not wet. Like I want to be wet, right? I want to know what that's like to be like, in water or whatever. And it's so inherent to what a fish is that it doesn't even recognize that that's its gift, is that it lives in water, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes our gifts are so obvious to us and we're so in it that we don't totally see it, right? And then we're spending so much time comparing ourselves to other people and looking what other people have, that we're distracted by all of these other things, right?
Mhm.
um, so coming into acceptance really brings you into where you are, like, right now. Like, what if right now you are enough? What if right now you actually have everything that you need to be successful? It's just that it looks differently than the distractions or what you've looked at. It's very easy to get, I'll use a show example. Like, I put on a good show, right? And I can make it look a certain way, and I can go out and perform my show, and people are like, "Oh, that's amazing. Da, da, I want to do that," right? And then somebody might come to try to take lessons and learn, and they're like, this is not what it seemed like, right? It's a
Yeah.
good show. I make it look very easy and very beautiful and a certain way, right? But there is an underside to it that looks very different. But for me, it's something like, specifically like with the fire shows, it's very natural to me because it's my thing, right? So
You've been doing it for a while.
yeah, and it's like even the struggles are challenging, but they're not, they don't, it doesn't, I can work through them basically because it's my thing, right? It works. But it's very easy to get hooked into the show that someone puts forward, right? A good performer can put on a really good show, and for them it's their authentic truth, maybe not. But when we look at those things that people have been very successful with, like their marketing, their fancy images, the programs they're putting forward, the lifestyle they're putting forward, their life could look totally different on the backside, right? And and they could be a completely different person than what we see. And then when we get to know their life and who they are, we're just like, "Ooh, like I would have never got that from what they were putting forward, into the world in a certain way," because they're constructing that image in a way to try to attract people, right? And like we've talked about before, that's the whole, pain point marketing thing is, I'm going to make this image and make it look like I have all the success and I've got it all organized and it's all working perfectly. And, I'm going to direct it at a certain person, and then it's going to play upon, like you said, um, you want to be successful. You feel like you're not enough. You're not liking who you are. So all of these programs get directed at, those are your pain points. They get directed at that. So then when you see that they have the answer, it's like, oh, I'm going to buy that and do that because it's going to solve all the problems. But we get temporarily inspired, right? And sometimes it helps create some momentum, but it hits a wall and it falls flat, and we find ourselves right back into the reality of like going to make the content and facing ourselves and saying, ooh, I'm aging. I don't like how I look. Like, this is uncomfortable. I can't put this forward. And I understand, because I feel like that's a block to me putting content out a lot of the times. And um, it was also one of the major hurdles that I had to get over in putting content out. I did not, it's easy for me to stand up and perform a show. I call it hiding behind the fire, right? I can get up and I can put on a show and dance and do a great time. But when I have to sit down in front of the camera and talk and put out content and do something, like, it really does not feel comfortable, and it's very challenging. And I've had many breakdowns sitting in front of the camera, and just being like, okay, or not being able to do it, and having all of the, core wounds and the challenges come up. So but there was a point where the product, what I was creating, I was inspired by something I wanted to create. And the vision of what I wanted to create came to a point. I tried to do it in a way where I wasn't going to have to make any content, but it kind of distracted me in this direction. And then it came up where it's like, no, now you're gonna have to make content. And I was like, oh man. And it was like, and I derailed it for quite a long time, trying to avoid sitting in front of myself and facing myself. And there was like times of crying in the camera and, you know, avoiding it and being really negative about it. And it, you know, and it has brought to the surface, you know, a very underlying, you know, I call them core wounds, but core wounds of like, I'm not enough, you know, I'm not valuable, you know, I'm ugly, I'm old, I'm not acceptable, I'm not lovable, all those like core belief statements that are really just thoughts that block us.
Yeah, I saw a woman, I forgot the name of her channel, but where was she from? I think she was from another, if she might be from another country. I don't even remember. It was very quick. I'd never seen her before, but I think she's younger than I am, and she's all gray, but I think she has like a beauty channel, right? But she, and just, yeah, it was a short that I saw. Like I didn't actually go to her channel. I was just scrolling through really quick. And so she comes, I guess she's just out of the shower. She had a towel over her hair. She just goes like this, and then she takes it off. It's all gray. And then you see her quickly do her makeup. And she was just talking about how she loves how she looked. And she did. She looked so beautiful, you know, just doing, she's like, I can't wear a lot of makeup and a lot of stuff. And this is just the basic that I do. And I'm just loving who I am right now in my life. And I'm like, what's wrong? Why can't I do that?
Do you think she
Yeah.
got to that point by just feeling like that always?
I don't know. And she's young, and I think she said she was her age, and I think it was younger than me, like by a year or two at the most.
In my experience, we build confidence, right?
Yeah.
Like my new performers, when they go to step out on stage, they don't actually feel adequate. They don't feel like they're enough. They don't feel like they know enough. They're nervous as heck, and
Mhm.
they will argue with me many times and get very angry at me, telling me that like they're not ready, they can't do it. They'll make Then all the life things will happen that will try to take them away from, you know, I have to work. Oh, there's like my relationship. All these other things come up, and it's really just because they faced this core belief within themselves of, you know, whatever they think is wrong with them came up, and they want to go and run away from it, right? And
Yeah.
there's and we can make some very valid excuses, like there are, you know, real life situations that come up, but I've noticed most of the time, it, even for myself, most of those surface as a way to try to pull me away from facing that point, that inevitable point where I'm eventually going to have to step out and be seen and heard. Like we can't hide, right?
And I
We
think
can.
that's where my message this morning was about forgiveness, because um it's forgiving those core wounds, you know, the trauma, the fears, all of the stuff, all of the emotions, the frustrations. Oh, that just reminded me, I had an interesting dream that made no sense. I don't know if
Let's
this is,
stay with this thread, and then
yeah,
I'm going to ask you about your dream,
yeah.
because
It,
I think that like right now you're right on it in this kind of acceptance point, because
So
uh,
I'm kind of like equating, you know, acceptance and forgiveness kind of together in a sense, where you know, the forgiveness does lead to acceptance, you know, and letting go. Like I wrote this whole thing about letting go, letting go, letting go, because that's what I'm feeling that I need to do. It's
I have a question
accepting,
though.
forgive, and let go.
What if it isn't about letting go?
No.
What if well, I'm just curious, like it might be, but what if it isn't? What if like, you know, the way to confidence, like the person you described, I'm thinking about like performers and whatever, and myself, I'm thinking like, what if it is about actually accepting that those are part of who we are and recognizing that those are actually not defective parts of us, but they're actually parts that we're actually supposed to create with. We have to ally them and create with it. And like the person who you saw that was in confidence with her looks, she
Yeah.
could have had a point where she was incredibly insecure and didn't feel that way about herself. And by stepping out and being vulnerable and allowing herself to be seen, came to the point where she really started to appreciate and love herself. That's like the way through, right? So
It was,
I'm just
I could see
wondering.
that light inside of her too. Like she emanated it in that little short. And I don't know, it impressed me. I could say definitely. And I'm like, yeah, that's the thing that I think that I'm missing. That's the thing that I want or desire, that I wish that you know, I'm so fearful,
Well,
that
finish what you said. That's the thing that I want and I desire. What is it? What do you want and desire?
I guess that inner confidence, sort of to someone else was saying again, I guess I listened to too many other people. Yeah, that inner confidence that radiates a certain type of energy that's very positive. Um, and I spend more time beating myself up.
So an inner confidence that radiates a positive energy.
Yeah.
Okay, but and again, even with that, what is inherent, what's underlying is saying, you said, I'm beating myself up. So I want to radiate an inner confidence that radiates positive energy. However, I'm feeling not enough. I'm feeling not acceptable.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is it okay to not feel enough?
Um, I want to say it is okay to not, I mean, it everything is, a perspective and a paradigm shift. You can perceive it in a sense of like to honor it. I think that there's another way of part of what you were saying, the acceptance of it, and to sort of then transmute it, you know.
But
Um,
even in acceptance, there's not necessarily a trend. Like, sure, we might say, oh, I'm going to accept it so that I can change it.
uh,
But true acceptance is saying, okay, I think of myself as like I'm just going to be overly dramatic with this, but a ugly, vile, despicable human being that really should not be on camera or has anything to say, and I'm not enough, and like I can't bear looking at myself, and how could anyone bear looking at me? Like, just like don't do it. Just like say right. Like what? Like acceptance is saying that's how I feel. Right? I feel like this, but there's no like notice how I'm not saying like okay let's now flip the script. That's bypassing, right? Because to change it, we're not going to change it by just recognizing it and then flipping the scripts, right? With
mhm.
so many people, so many of us, myself included, do the affirmation thing and every day maybe like I'm beautiful, I'm lovable, I'm more than enough, right? And then ultimately get, face the camera or reality and it's like no, that's not true, right? It's not
Yeah,
true. It's like I don't feel like that, right? So
right.
so the question, it really is just like, okay, so this is how I feel about myself. And there's a lot of people that feel like that way about themselves.
Mhm.
Does it mean, I mean, where does that take, I mean,
Actually, I think that's really interesting in the sense of like it reminds me of the, that's saying like feel the fear and do it anyway, like accept the situation and just do what you want anyway, without necessarily bypassing. And yeah, just accept it as it is without it having to be a transmutation or, lead to some type of a, I mean, because there's a lot of talk about, um, the affirmations, as you were saying, to sort of brainwash yourself, reprogram, I think is the word I'm looking for, to reprogram your mind into being or becoming the person that you really want to be. And I think I've really struggled with that. So maybe that's
Well,
just,
it makes a lot of sense. Think
maybe
about that
that's
for a
just
moment.
not working for me, because I think I've heard that so much, you know, maybe
We
over.
can't become the person we want to be until we first accept ourselves how we are.
Yeah, right. Back to square one.
Otherwise, we're just trying to be a performer in a costume of somebody else's costume.
Yeah,
And
maybe
it's,
what
and
the
then we
book.
have to take it off and we're back in our skin again. You know,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, we face ourselves and we're with ourselves. And, you know, so really, yeah, I mean, and some of these things in my experience, especially with fear, you know,
mm,
the more that I try to annihilate it, make it go away, it just comes back, right? It doesn't go anywhere. It kind of sits there and it's like, uh-huh. Like, you know, and then it might duck away for a while and then it comes back in another way. So, you know, I've taken another approach with fear where I'm just like, okay, come on, have a seat with me, sit at the table, let's talk, right? What is this about? You know, why are you here? Like, I'm not going to try to annihilate you. I'm not going to try to make you go away. I want to learn from you. What do you have to say? What is this about? And, you know, I'm going to still go forward, uh, regardless. So we're going to have to ally together to figure out how we can work together here. Otherwise, you're going to be dragging along behind me. And like, and I know that then I'm going to be in conflict with it. But it's not going to go away. I mean, fear doesn't go away unless we actually turn around and face it and say, ha, I see you, I hear you, I'm not running from you anymore.
yeah, that's interesting. That's an
And that's what a
interesting
lot of
way
these
to,
things are.
it sparked sort of the idea of like having or developing a relationship with all of these different parts of you. Um, you know, like have a relationship with the fearful part, or, you know, the sadness or whatever it is, the frustration, the anger, and recognizing it and say, okay, you know, that's actually facing it, like you're saying.
Yeah. And we're never going to be enough.
Yeah.
We're never going to be perfect. We're never going to be, you know, like I had this awareness at some point ago where, you know, in videos, I was kind of like, you know, yeah, judging myself, looking at myself, being like, ugh, like, you know, all the things. And then I'd look at like old photos and be like, oh, like I was so beautiful at that point. But then I was like, okay, but I felt the same way then too. So at what point in my life am I going to finally say, all right, clearly I have a different expectation of myself than of like what I think I ought to look and present like than how I actually am. So at what point, well, the point was at that moment and always now to choose that, to recognize that I might be a little distorted in how I view myself, right? I've got these external expectations about when I see my reflection, how I think I should represent, or when I put content out, what I think I should be saying, right? And but the thing is sometimes we just have to do it and say that, okay, great, I'm not enough. I'm never going to be enough. I'm never going to be perfect. I'm never going to say it right. Whatever.
Mhm. Yeah, very thought provoking. For sure.
Well, yeah. And so then it's in the thoughts. Let's bring it into the body a little bit and see how that can be grounded into the present, into reality. What does it mean? Like, what does this mean for you here in the moment? Like, um, how can you move? Like, what do you need to do to be in acceptance in your life? How can you practice this?
Well, I think you just that's interesting. I mean, if you mean to constantly be in a state of acceptance, or just when the moment happens, like, or to live your life
Good
as
question. Good question.
in a
um,
constant state of acceptance. Because I
this
mean, at first I thought of, you know, again, the forgiveness, the ho'oponopono. But and it's been said that that actually works. Um,
is it working for you?
Well, because I'm like like one day I do it and the next day I forget it and I'm back into this, this kind of reality of dealing with so many different things. Like it's for me right now, it's trying to find some equilibrium, some type of place where I can just live my life and feel free and safe and know that everything's going to work out.
All right,
Uh,
let's do that right now then.
when I say that, like there's this sense of like fear and anxiety that wells up inside of me. This morning I did a meditation and I was doing like my own body scan, and it was so solid in my solar plexus, like the energy. Like, wow, I really need to work on that
Well,
area.
how? In what way can you move the energy right now? Because really, we're in a time and a space where right now we have the way in our bodies to just completely shift and move that energy. So how, rather than just letting it be there and saying like, oh, I have this feeling and it's stuck there and it's not moving, so if something works, it shifts us, right? If it's not working, then and it's not for us, then we forget about it, we don't do it, the energy remains, it doesn't work. And it's okay. Like not all practices are for everybody, right? So, somebody might get into forgiveness and have a steady practice for a period of time and have a lot of profound response from it. But, there also might be like another practice that's more readily available for you right now that is actually for you, that will actually shift the energy and work, that you'll be like, oh. But I think that like, and you could go Google and look and find everybody and even mine, like I could sit here and give you a bunch of ideas, but ultimately a lot of what you're sharing here is about discovering what it is for you. So right now, what will it take for you to shift that energy?
Well, I felt like I was doing it in my uh meditation.
Perfect.
Um, just writing down a note, discovering, I love that word. Discovery is one of my favorite words. Um, yeah, so I could feel it moving. So I was basically I go through each of like a chakra balancing basically, and I go through each of them to balance them out. And I don't recall exactly what I was saying, some sort of internal mantra. And I do recall, though, feeling it dissipate, which was really cool. It's like, oh, I guess whatever it is I'm doing, it works. And so I just
What
went
did
with.
you, so what, tell me a little bit. Was it like, were you in a seated meditation? Were you laying down? Like
Oh,
how did you get
I
into
lay
it?
down. I love to lie down when I'm meditating, because I can put my body sometimes well, I'm getting better at it. It's sort of like an in-between state, in-between consciousness state, between the actual meditating and the dream. It's one of my favorite things to do, but yeah, I do need a lot of space and time to do that. Um, and so yeah, I just basically go through, I'm lying down, um, and I'm just doing body scanning, relaxing the muscles in my face, the corners of my eyes. I focus on my breath. Um, and I acknowledge every part of my body and basically send it love. Even starting with my toes and just working all the way up through each of my chakras. And then I was also, okay, and now it's coming back to me. Now I remember I also felt in this one, I was connecting, like my body had like strings or roots going deep into the center of the earth and grounding in the center of the earth. And then for protection, my spirit animals I have a team of lions for safety and security by my side. Um, yeah, so that was part of today's meditation, and I was sort of like in and out of consciousness, and
Do you
Yeah.
do that every day, or were you just called to do it
Oh,
today?
I was just called to do it today.
Mhm.
Kind of, so that's the other part. Like I don't have, like when I mentioned the Ho'oponopono, let's just use that again. Like I'm not doing it daily consistently. Like anything that comes in or I have that inspiration, I go and do it. But like the commitment, say for example, if I did Ho'oponopono for, I don't know, 10 days, let's just say, would that work for me? Like I haven't actually really tested any one thing. And I think that's my thing, because too much of life is being thrown at me. And then I get, anxiety and resentful and this and that. And I just want to push everything away. And I go into nothingness and non-productiveness. Um, but when today, gratefully, my day off, um, I just felt called to go lie down and do a meditation. And I do lying down because that's the place where I also feel really safe. I feel supported. Um, yeah. And Batman was there too. So that was a comfort. And then he came and crawled up next to me. I'm like, this isn't gonna work. I didn't know that my soulmate was a feline.
And okay, and I hear you. So like it's so these you're kind of just allowing this to come to you. When it comes to you, then you do it. It's not like any one of the practices are steady practices. And I know you've got your
The
daily.
journaling in the morning has become very consistent for me, and I really look forward to it today. There was also, I think, I think it was, I don't even remember if it was before or after my meditation, but I was listening to someone else again on YouTube, but I just started writing things that were coming up for me. Um, and that just felt really good in that moment. And yeah, I mean, I just wish I could be this way every day and have that sustain me financially.
Careful, careful with that.
I know.
Right. That expectation of
Mhm.
how you want yourself to be. And,
Yeah.
you know, plants is like a rose that grows and blooms. Or let's look at a hibiscus actually, because they don't bloom as often. But, most of what's happening with a bloom is all beneath the surface before there's actually like a flower that blooms. Right. There's all the growth, there's all the work in the soil, there's all the deep work until we see the beautiful flower and we're like, that's so beautiful. Why can't I just be a blooming flower always? It's because the, life, death, life process is all part of it. And we can't cut off any one of those. We have to, learn to support ourselves through the entire process. And so I'm feeling into like the practices that you're talking about a little bit, because I like how you supported yourself in the meditation. And I like, one thing that I'm also thinking about on this thread is, in the FTP group, one of the things I think that he says in there somewhere is, when you're going to become a creator, it's like you'll stop watching as much other people's content. You'll be making your own content, right? You might like to there might be inspiration. So I'm wondering if, and you can see how this feels, like what would happen if you went on like a content or like a watching other people's content fast. Like
Yeah.
you just said, like I'm
Detox.
going to stop and cut off for X number of days watching anybody else's content, and I'm going to replace that with, I'm going to do journaling every morning, and I'm either going to do and pick one like for the forgiveness practice, or like your meditation, and say I'm going to do that in this time frame every day. Right? So you're taking something out and adding something in, and making that a practice for just a period of time. I wonder how that would feel.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've thought about that in the past few years. When was it? In 2019, I got addicted to YouTube uh, tarot card readers, and like an addiction, I would say. Yeah. And I've pulled back on that, but I've gone to other content creators. in replacement of, which, you know, I thought was really cool. There's a lot of great information, learned a lot, but still, I go back every now and then to a couple here and there. Um, but yeah, I've have thought about like just never ever again watching any more tarot card readers.
Well,
Just
wait, so
because,
yeah, I don't think you have to say like never ever again, right? But what if you just pick like imagine like we're gonna talk next Sunday, right?
yeah,
So what if you just said from like today until next Sunday, you're not gonna go on YouTube, you're not gonna go on, you know, Instagram, none of the social media parts, none of them. Like you're gonna cut out all content, like all media.
yeah, that would be, yeah, that's like how I cut out the news. I mean, like, you know, regular TV and
Mhm.
stuff. That might be a cool thing to do.
It's just 7 days. And so then,
Yeah,
therefore, then every day instead would be journaling and like your meditation practice. So, what would you do? Would it be the forgiveness or the meditation practice?
I would do both. I think I would do both. I think I could do both.
Yeah, like like one way that you could structure that would be whatever time of day you're doing it. There's a couple of things I'm thinking of here. You could journal, do forgiveness, do your meditation, and then journal, and then like go for a walk kind of a thing.
Yeah,
That's type. It doesn't have to necessarily be all together, but you could create that kind of container. And so how would you fit that into like work days?
I could do it every morning except for Saturday.
When
Like
could you do it on Saturday?
maybe Saturday after 4 p.m. because I start work at 7:30. I do tried I did have been journaling before, but I have to get up I've been getting up a little earlier so I have a little more time. So at least I have the journal and I'll, you know, at least now that it's warmer, I can, you know, shower before work, which is much preferred. So at least I can do that. But the meditation part, I would have to wait till after work to do that, like in the afternoon. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and I think that the important like is to so every day you could do it in the morning and then Saturday it would be at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah. I'll do it.
What is your goal then on the other side of that? So by Sunday, what would you like what would be a goal to is it to have completed this? Like what is the goal that you'd want to put towards this?
I don't know. What do you mean? Like the
Well,
to actually do it, to accomplish it, or to um connect more to, I mean, I think what it is that it would, I have an idea of what I think that I could gain from it, maybe, or am I trying to formulate that? Um,
feel into what we've been talking about today and see if there's anything that you could word as a goal by, Sunday that could
I
be.
think really the goal really would to create more mental space, more peace in my less chatter brain, and to really connect more uh, to my inner like inspiration, or that's what I really want anyway. And the idea is that this stuff is getting in the way of me really connecting to those thoughts that could lead me to my, you know, my own process or my own authentic self, because I'm looking at other content creators and admiring how awesome they are.
Yeah, so it's like getting to that place of inspiration. What if it's about you get to the point of just saying, I accept myself?
That would be enough.
Listen to
and,
what you just said.
and that would be enough. That's funny. Being enough.
So, okay, so by Sunday, if you'll have, by doing this practice every day, by Sunday, you'll get to a point where
I have
you're
about like a lineup of at least another, I don't know, 8 YouTube videos. Can I watch those first before I start? Joke.
I was gonna ask you a question back, but like,
I literally do. No, before I got in the shower, I had check marked, put them in the queue. That's what I did. I checked them. I was like, oh, I want to see that. Oh no, I want to see that. I want to see that. They were all different. And I think only 2 were tarot and 1 I had already seen.
That's like saying, you're gonna go on like a food fast. Can I eat like whatever meal like 4 more times before I go
Right.
on the fast, right? There's no time
Exactly.
like now to make so here's the thing. So this is about coming into acceptance, this week is about really coming into an acceptance, just saying, hey, I am who I am and I am how I am. And like I have to just come to a place, or I'm choosing to come to a place of actually accepting myself. That just saying this is actually okay. That like I don't need to change any of this right now. Like just for this week, it's okay for it to be how it is. It's okay that my refrigerator is not working. It's okay that I don't have air conditioner. It's okay that it feels challenging. It's okay that I don't like the way I look. It's okay that I feel like I'm not enough. All these things, it's okay. Like I'm going to accept this without trying to shift any of it. Just saying it's okay, right? I'm accepting it. And in doing that, because what I really loved about it with your meditation practice was you were doing that in your meditation practice. You were sending love to all parts of yourself. And so I really liked what you said about the meditation, because that's exactly what you were practicing, was acceptance.
And not even realizing it.
Nope, exactly. And I think it just is that simple, right? And for right now.
Yeah. Those are the 2 words I actually wrote down. Discovering and acceptance. I like those words.
Yeah, and right now, maybe even just acceptance, because discovery has this idea. I like discovery as well, but it does have this, oh, I'm going to reach out and find something. I'm going to go within and try to discover something, right?
Creates an
Whereas
expectation.
acceptance is so
Yeah.
simple of like, what we want to do all this stuff, right? We want to do, right? And acceptance is so just like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and accept things how they are, as they are. And every time circumstances arise in the day, in life, then like for this week, I'm going to practice acceptance. I'm going to do the meditation. I'm going to take a walk, and I'm just going to do it with acceptance without the need to discovering. I'm not expecting myself to have any discoveries. In fact, it's okay if nothing gets discovered. It's okay if it's a challenging week. It's okay if it's an amazing week. Whatever it is, all those judgments are just, they are what they are, right? And
That feels really good. Like it releases like any sort of pressure or expectation. Yeah.
yeah, the job, all of it, just all of it. Yeah. And it's not avoidance either, right? So
It
when things
feels like
come
just a
up that need to
lightness
be managed,
like that.
hmm?
It feels like a lightness, like it would be taking a heavy load off, because watching other people's stuff, it always puts that like, okay, what am I gonna do? What can I do? Like this doing your, and down the rabbit hole I go, and then being stuck in neutral and never being able to move forward or do anything, you know, it just becomes overwhelmed.
Yeah. So it lightens the load, it takes the burdens off, and opens the space for you to be present with you able to do what is before you. So whatever you do need to take care of in the week, when things come up or there's something that needs to be looked at, then it's not an avoidance and saying, I'm not going to do this, I'm just going to brush it aside. It's more like, okay, I'm going to accept that what is before me is to take the next step on whatever is before me, right? But anything that is not before me is not mine and is not for me to do. Yeah.
Very good. Well, got a plan.
So yeah, so how does that feel?
It feels good. It feels good to, to have something to commit to myself. Yeah,
Does it seem achievable?
very.
Awesome. And so I would also like to know about your dream.
Okay. Weird.
And knowing that I'm like, might post this. So as long as you're
I don't know
comfortable
if you
sharing.
want to record this part, but because I can't, like, this dream was just very weird.
You don't
Um,
want to record this part, or are you like, like, is it
I mean,
something
you could edit it out
I
later
don't
if you
want
want.
to edit it? I don't, I want this to be very raw and on the surface, but I'm just curious, like, what do you, or what is the apprehension about, if
Oh, no, no apprehension. I just don't, I wasn't sure if it would, be in a alignment with everything that we've been talking about.
my
Uh,
guess is it probably is.
okay, so let's give it a whirl of this nonsensical dream.
Okay.
So something, okay, the place, Brooklyn, where I used to live,
Hmm.
uh, in that area, very specific uh, blocks that I have in my memory, places that I've walked, traveled through a bazillion times. Um, Something happened, but I was still on this long walk and I ended up back in Brooklyn, close to my home, but I was with people prior. And now the other, I like to call them characters in this, were then, I think for sure my father, my brother, I'm not sure if even my mother was there. She might have been. I don't remember a lot of conversation with them at all. But I remember being by myself, walking maybe towards my house and realizing that I forgot something, or, and I couldn't remember what it is. And then I realized, I don't know how I got here. How did I get here? Like, oh my God, I can't remember. I can't remember. I have to think. How did you get here? And then there's a part of Brooklyn where it's sort of like uh, not a boardwalk, but it's along like the river, and there's some cobblestone streets and there's some shops and restaurants and stuff like that. So I was near the pier, I guess you would call it. Um, but they made it more like a park and stuff like that. And I remember seeing a bag in the water. And it was like the bag was like face down, and like I kept thinking to myself, pick up the bag. Like, I don't know that it belonged to me or not, like, but it kind of felt like it did belong to me, but I didn't pick up the bag. And then I still had this thing. I'm like, I have to remember how I got here. If I just knew this one piece, I could remember and I could backtrack. And then I would remember, get this, where my car is. Like, I forgot where my car was. And I couldn't remember where my car was. That's how it like evolved from like, I don't know how I got here, to the bag, to I don't know where my car is. And then this is where I realized I think I was with my father and somehow he comes into the picture. And I'm like, well, just tell me, if you could tell me what happened before, I could remember. And then I'd be able to figure everything out and I would know where my car is. And he wouldn't say. And I'm like, just say something. Like, I was very frustrated. So I guess, hindsight 2020, it was a dream about frustration, forgetfulness, not knowing where things are, and how did I get here in a
So
nutshell.
yeah, actually, I think it does apply to what we were talking about today. It actually seems very relevant, honestly. Um, I just kind of like, so it was kind of started with like you forgetting something, right? Wondering like, how did I have to, you had to go back and it's like, how did I get here? And then it was like the bag in the water, pick it up. But it was like, kind of became like, where's my car? How did I get here? And then going outside of yourself to say, tell me how I got here. Right. So there's this component in there of when well, let me ask you, like when you tune into what we talked about today, can you pull yourself out of the space just a little bit to kind of like bird's eye view, look at this and think like you forgot something, you were wondering, how did I get here? Right. And you were asking someone to tell you how you got there. Right. Do you see any comparisons to anything we talked about today? Is there anything that let's do this. I'm gonna can I just guide you through a simple little process and we'll see, maybe nothing will come out of it, but maybe something will. And let's just see if there's any connections that get made, okay? Because I can tell you what I think, but I'm gonna resist from doing that right now because like some of what I'm hearing is, like going to the content to get someone else's opinion and going here to learn what does this mean about this and tell me what this means. And I want to try to encourage you to extract your own meaning from this beyond the surface level of what it appears to be, right?
Mhm.
So let's just for a moment, just close your eyes and just take a natural deep breath in and exhale through the mouth, and just inhale and let it out like you're literally kind of letting some stuff out. Just let it all go. Let everything from today go. Let all of the week go. Let all of the expectations go. Let all of the burdens go. Let all the goals, just let all of it go. It's just inhale and let it all out. Another deep breath in and another audible, loud breath out through the mouth. And this time, let the breath go into the solar plexus and you inhale. And when you exhale, like a lion, like tongue out, let it go. And now we just come into natural breath, just without resisting or controlling the breath. Just allow yourself to breathe naturally. Relaxing the eyes, the face, letting the eyes melt down and inward towards the center of the heart. And imagine that your eyes are now looking out from the center of your heart. The shoulders relax, and you can hear the reverberation of your heartbeat. You can feel that moving all through your body. And you feel yourself connected to the earth. And you know that you're safe here in this moment. You're protected. It's okay to let go. It's okay to release. It's okay to soften. It's okay to forget. Just allow things to be here in this moment as they are. And just continuing to stay connected with the center of the heart. The eyes, the ears, all the senses have absorbed into the center of the heart. The heart taking up space in the chest. Its pulse connects to the front of the body, to the side body, and to the back side of the body. So tuning now into the points between your scapula and your spine, the back side of the heart. Turn your eyes to look out through that point behind you from the heart eyes looking out at that point behind the heart. You're not trying to do anything. You're just simply turning your focus in this direction. It's okay if there's nothing there. In fact, if there's nothing there, just be present in the nothingness, be present in the void, the emptiness. You're not going anywhere. You're not leaving the body. You're staying fully present within the heart. You just turned the eyes to that point and you're looking out from that point along a trajectory that moves behind. And now turn the heart eyes to look out through the left side of the body. From that point in the chest, imagine that the eyes of the heart are looking out through the left side body. Just noticing what you notice. And now turn the heart eyes to look to and out through the right side of the body. Noticing what you notice. Natural breath. Anytime any thoughts or thinking or trying to control or seek or find or discover, just simply return into the heart, reconnect with the eyes and the heart, looking out through the right side of the body. And now turn the eyes to look out through the front side of the body from the heart, looking forward. What is before you? Just notice what you notice. Again, it's okay if there's nothing there. You're not going to it. You're staying present within your heart space. Just looking forward. And now turn the eyes and look directly down through the central channel of the body, all the way down through the solar plexus, through the belly, through the root, all the way down into the crystalline grid of the earth. And see all of the roots connecting through the earth, the soil, all that lives within the soil. Notice what you notice. And see how you have roots that are connected into the earth. And allow all those rich, fertile nutrients of the earth to move through those roots up through the body. And as you bring your gaze up into the center of the heart, allow those nutrients to move up into the core center of the heart. Now turn the eyes and look up through the throat chakra, through the third eye, out the crown of the head, past the soul star, all the way up to your stellar gateway. And as you look up at the great expanse, you notice all the brightness of the stars in the sky. And you see this one bright twinkling star that's standing out to you. And you notice that its light is shining down towards you. And you can see that light. It makes connection to the eyes within your heart. And you allow that light to move down, all the way down until you return with the eyes present in the center of the heart. And as you are fully embodied, present in the center of the heart, as a conscious, whole, connected being, I'm going to ask one question, and I want you to listen within the heart. And then the first thing that comes up without judgment, simply say it out loud. How did I get here?
I don't know.
Ask your heart, how did I get here?
By choice.
Heart, what choice did you make?
To incarnate for the challenge.
Heart, is there anything more you'd like to share with me?
I love you.
Hold that love within the center of your heart. And know that your heart is beating the frequency of love through all of your cells, your bones, your veins. And it is that love frequency that is moving down through the body, through all of your bones, your blood, through the solar plexus, through the belly. It's moving down into the crystalline grid of the earth. That love connects with all the rich, fertile nutrients within the soil of the earth. And Pachamama, Mother Earth, adds her love and seeds you. And she sends and adds to that love and begins to send that love up into the body. And now it comes up into the center of the heart. Heart, what else would you like to share with me?
You're safe.
And allow yourself to relax into the deep inner knowing that you're safe. That it's okay. And now connect your awareness to the central sun. And imagine that golden sun, that crystalline golden sun above you, shining down its warmth. And as it shines down its warmth, it meets the love of the earth within the heart. And when the warmth of the sun meets the love of the heart, you feel within you a spark, an activation. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to figure out. There's nothing to know. And just simply say to yourself, I am. I am. Breathe in and exhale. I am.
I am.
In your own time, when you're ready, you can gently begin to come back into the space by opening the eyes and arriving here. I want you to look around the space that you're in and look before you and tell me what you see in front of you other than me and the computer, but tell me something that you see, describe what you see in front of you.
I don't know how to answer that.
No, you just simply open your eyes and tell me what you see in the room before you. Just pick one object that you see and describe it.
I'm actually looking out the window. I see my tree.
What color is the tree?
It has deep maroon leaves. It's a very young tree.
And then look to your left and tell me, describe one object you see to your left.
It's a closet or kitchen cabinet with doors, old doors and knobs I'd like to change.
And look to your right and tell me what you see to your right.
My refrigerator.
And then look behind you and pick one object and tell me what you see behind you.
Oh, my plants. That's growing. It's good.
Okay, that was just simply to bring you present into like the space. So based on so for you, when you think about your dream
What I
now,
said.
huh?
And I know you were asking me questions, but I'm like, I have no idea what I said.
Yeah,
Until all
here's
the
what you said.
icons.
You got here by choice
Oh.
to incarnate for the challenge. And your heart wanted you to know that you are loved and that you are safe. So when you think about this dream, forgot something, how did I get here? Bag in the water, pick it up, but you need to know how you got here first, and no one would tell you how you got here. And you think about today, we were talking about accepting yourself, about feeling like you're not enough, about feeling like you're not acceptable, and that other people, you have to go to other people's channels in order to find something that qualifies information to move you forward or to give you insight. So when you think about the simplicity of this dream, forgot something, how did I get here? bag in the water, pick it up, go to Father, how did I get here? He wouldn't tell you. If I could just figure out how I got here. Do you see any relevance to the content at this point?
Yeah, everything is just like um showing me that it's I'm looking for outside instead of going inside, and that I have the choice or the ability, I don't know if it's an ability, but it may be a choice, um, to go inside to learn what it is I need to know. I could have chosen to pick up the bag. It wasn't as if I knew the bag had the answers, but it was a choice. It was an option.
Yeah,
And
so I like what you just said. You could choose to go inside to I think you said see what it is you to learn, or to like what it is you need to know, right? It was something like that, right?
what it is I need to know.
Yeah. However, you already know,
Yeah,
right? So you already know. You came here by choice to incarnate for the challenge. What's the
right.
challenge?
Everything that I'm experiencing,
More specific, what's the challenge?
to not rely on anything or anyone
In a
outside of me.
positive, sorry, in a positive way, what is the challenge? Huh?
um, the challenge is to learn how to
Already
connect
know.
with that I already know, and to connect inside, to
The challenge maybe is to simply accept yourself.
accept myself. Exactly. Accept myself
Is it that simple?
and the situations that I put myself in, or is that negative?
It's just simply to accept yourself.
Keep it simple.
I am. It's that simple. You don't have to fill in the blank. We want to. We want to fill it in and say, I am this and I am that, and I am this and I am not this, and I am all this, but it's just simple. Accept yourself. I am.
And move forward.
And
Yeah.
be present.
Yeah.
Right. Just be present in I am with acceptance.
And that is a challenge, because the chatter mind always wants to, like, okay, but you have to do something. But you have to do something. You
You
can't
can't
just
just sit there.
yeah, you can't just sit there.
And it's true. There are things that sometimes come before us. I won't say what they are because we're recording this, but you've experienced things in your more recent past that were things knocking at your door that were before you that needed to be managed, right? So those are times where it's like, okay, this is before me. I have to take care of this, right? Great. But through the taking care of it is I accept myself and I am doing this, whatever, like I am present, right? Um, and here's the thing, I also like what you said is you probably could have picked the bag up in the water. Well, you still can. So I would invite you to consider over this week in one of your meditation journeys to revisit this dream and to bring yourself to the point of, since you now know that you haven't, you know how you got here and you know the choice that you made, right? So now you can say, I know, right? I know. Like anytime you catch yourself saying, I don't know, it's like, nope, wait, I know, I remember. Okay. And then you can dream revisit by now taking a meditation journey to follow that dream and to go back to the point where the bag was there. And now you can actually pick it up and see what it is, what's in it, what it's about.
Journey. Good.
Okay, so what's your, so how is that experience?
It's good. I mean, I love when I kind of like in a different space, dimension, time. um, yeah, it always feels really, I don't know. I don't know what a good word is. Um, because so much of my present being is has been living in this state of overwhelm and the I don't knows, that when I'm have an experience like this, it just takes me out of myself. And like I am seeing like how things are changing for me. I'm like, there was a time when I'm my brain was just too active to even calm down enough to.
Don't loop the old story. And I have a question. Is it
Sure.
taking you out of yourself or did it bring you into yourself?
Well, that's a great question. You could say takes you into yourself,
Because, out of yourself
out
is,
of out of this stuff, that I deal with, or away from that, but into yourself. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's not going to change that, these things don't take away and change the fact that, like, facing ourselves in the mirror in a camera is going to be like, well, there's that, like, whatever person staring me back at me, right? But it does just come into a simple place of bringing ourselves into a place where we can start to accept ourselves. That is like, okay, like I'm accepting that the person that is looking at me, I can accept the fact that I am not liking this, right? I can accept the fact that I'm in judgment. I can accept the fact that I'm maybe not seeing myself accurately, right? Because I'm comparing myself to who I'm not,
Right.
which creates a distortion. Because if I don't know, I was going to pick some like famous person, but I actually can't even think of anybody. But it's like if person acceptable from whatever uh, place within us that feels invalidated or like a failure says, well, no, that person is actually acceptable. Like I'm not, right? So then we compare ourselves to that person in their life. It creates a distortion because then when we look at ourselves, we're not actually seeing ourselves. We're seeing someone else. And then what we're looking at is like, well, that doesn't look like that. So this isn't acceptable.
Yeah.
Right. And so part of this is like detoxing out all of that so that we can come into the point of saying, okay, for a minute, I'm not actually seeing myself here in the mirror. I'm seeing there's a smoke screen between me and what I'm actually seeing that has distorted my perception of self. Right. So you got to clean the mirror and clean the windows and clear out some of that so that you can come into actually seeing yourself. Right. And you're like, and you'll come to your own awareness about that, right? So yeah, the first step is just to be in acceptance, and through an acceptance you are starting to clean those windows. Okay, so this week then, tell me what you're going to do.
YouTube detox, and replace that time with uh, journaling, meditation, walking, or journaling.
And what else? There's one other thing that I think you might be called to do with the dream revisit.
Oh, right. I had that dream journey, I called it. Dream
Yeah,
journey.
dream revisit to pick up the bag.
Yeah, pick up the bag.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So that I would call that like a baby goal. We talked about goals in the beginning. I know we were thinking about like business and stuff, but ultimately, sometimes in order to get to really actually seeing, there has to be a clear out or a recalibration on a pretty fundamental level in order to get to a point of actually being able to set the bigger goals, right? And
Mm.
what I've been hearing when we talk is Like you're wanting to make content, you're wanting to do all these things and build your business, but you keep bumping into all these obstacles. And I hear you that it's because your vision for it is based on other people's dreams, right? And then comparing yourself to that. So the question then becomes, okay, well, what is your actual like gift and dream? And it's all, you already know. I don't want you to get hung up on like, I don't know, and it's not that, and it's not this, but it's like, you already know, it's already in you. You're here for that reason, right? And I think that's part of the recalibration is bringing, pulling all of your energy back, gathering yourself in, coming into acceptance, and then from there starting to observe and listen. And the next step then would be to, that discovery would be the next step, but the first step is just acceptance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. Thanks for playing along with that.
That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, my pleasure.
All right.
What else?
I know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that I have anything else, but no, I think we covered it all. Um, I mean, I'm curious, you know. So yeah, I'm definitely curious about this process and looking forward to next Sunday, to
Yeah,
see.
it'll be cool to see, to talk about it at that point. Yeah.
I think so. I think it really would.
Okay, if that feels complete, I'm gonna stop the recording. Does it feel complete?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop the recording.